So I'm Meeti, and this is my second book. It's my first murder mystery. I'm a copywriter. I'm from advertising, so I've had 15 years of being a copywriter, and I'm a content writer, copywriter, and also a mother. I live in Mumbai, and the Mumbai Murder Mystery is based on this fictional neighborhood called Temple Hill. It's inspired by this neighborhood where I grew up in.
So first, I want to really just ask you, what inspired you to write this book? I know you just touched base about how it's inspired by your neighborhood in which you grew up in, but how about the murder part of it, the mystery part, and everything in between?
So I grew up reading mysteries. It's like the most favorite thing in the world for me to read mysteries. And I've read, mysteries, cozy set in little English villages and little up in the Highlands, little Scottish towns. And currently what I'm is something that's set out of a Quebec village in Canada. And it's a fictional, I love, I'm like loving this. It's Louise Penny, and she writes these gorgeous murder mysteries set in a fictional town called Three Pines. So I'm just saying I love mysteries. So I always wanted to write a mystery. And why set it where I grew up? Because it's the perfect antithesis there is of crime, of something is of crime, because it's this peaceful neighborhood, extremely green and quiet, and everybody's fairly affluent, so there is not too much crime, or at least not the violent kind. I mean, there might be tax evasion or money laundering or something like that, but there is no violent crime. Also, this community that I'm talking about is they practice ahimsa, which is the non-violent way of life. So it's a religious belief for them as well. So it's like the perfect antithesis of crime. And I thought it would be so much fun to have a murder happen here. And why would someone like this, someone who belongs to this community, why would they be do it? What kind of desperation would lead them to do this? I thought it would be fun. The backdrop is quite a contrast, for a murder. So I thought that'd be fun to explore.
That's incredible. It's so interesting when you kind of put these types of plot points into a scenario. For example, you're setting it's this peaceful setting, and all of a sudden murder, and it's about working your way through these people that you never think could be a murderer, or could be murdered in any type of way, really, especially because it's an affluent area. You look at that and you think it's picture perfect, and it's not.
People have been living here for generations, so everybody either knows everybody, or at least you'll find someone and it's quite close knit, in that sense. Yeah. So it's fun. Why would people who apparently have it all, what would push them to murder? And and who've grown up with this way of life, non-violence, so celebrated, in every way, and there's an actual term for it, so yes. I thought to do it. Yeah,
that's incredible. I love the whole entire plot of this book. I think that it definitely makes you think who your neighbors are. So pretty much, how do you write your books? Do you outline them, or do you just jump right on in? Because with mystery novels, you kind of need to know who did it, but also I'm curious about your writing style and how you actually get started.
So I'm a planner by personality. I mean, I love to make little lists, and then I'll cross, and then I'll go a few days later and then go and see and feel very accomplished because I've accomplished everything on my list. So by nature, I'm a planner, and that sort of translates into how I work. I plan, I plot, I outline, I write down a whole lot of notes. And I find the whole idea of just jumping in highly terrifying, because especially with the genre I'm working with, you have to know where to plant the clues and where the red herrings come in, and and in the end it has to all tie up satisfactorily. You have to kind of have good reason. I mean, for me, the most satisfying mysteries are the ones that in the end, everything makes sense. When I'm reading, I do like that. I like if the author has taken the trouble to explain everything, and if if a character was behaving strangely, then if there's a good reason for it, I like that the author took time and thought it through, and the person wasn't just behaving suspiciously out of, there was a reason for it. So I like things thought through. So when I'm writing, I try to do that for my reader, kind of have a good, reasonable, credible explanation for things. So especially with a mystery, I mean, you need to know where to plant everything. Even when one is plotting, there are times when your characters are doing things which you did not plan for them to do. And that's actually a lot of fun. And that kind of, when the characters are saying things, doing things when you did not plan it or you did not plot it, but they just sort of take a life of their own and they kind of do things. So that's a lot of fun. But yes, to start with, I do think I need a plot.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that it's amazing that you just mentioned how the characters actually, they do take on lives of their own and they speak to you. It sounds kind of funny because, you have characters speaking inside your head, but it's true, you allow them to go where they go and it ends up adding to the novel, I think.
Yes, and I never got it when other writers used to talk about it. And I used to think, oh my God, what are they talking about? Like, how does this happen? And then finally, when it happened to me, it's almost magical, actually. When
it all makes
sense.
You
something which I'm like, how did this happen? Like I go back and read something I wrote, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so much fun. Like, I did this, so
it's an amazing moment. So your book, there's so many elements to it, but I have to ask, what was your favorite part about writing this novel?
So I think the world building was a lot of fun for me. I like I said, it's inspired by a place that I grew up in. So it's a place that I'm intimately familiar with it. I am extremely fond of it. And I also have perspective because I have lived away from there for a while. So I can see it from the outside and see the flaws. And I love it despite the flaws. So it was a world which, I have a lot to say about the world. So that's the most fun part for me, to talk about the food, the culture, even the weather, the Mumbai rains, for instance. It's a funny thing, but people from outside Mumbai, like say someone's come from Delhi or Bangalore, which are other big cities, they don't enjoy Mumbai rains. They find it extremely messy and extremely harsh, the weather. Whereas people who've grown up in Mumbai, it's romantic, the rains. So I'm saying just to even talk about was a lot of fun for me. And I think the fun really started with the second draft, because for the first draft that you're writing, you're just desperately terrified that you want to know if you can kind of do it.
You want to get it done. You want to get from point A to point B, and it may be messy, but at least it's done. Second drafts are always the best.
Yes, exactly. So the fun started with draft 2. I mean, after I thought, oh my God, so I have draft 1, it works. It's a linear story, there's some logic to it, and there is, I think it works.
Great, that's a great answer. I really love that. I'm an author too, so when it comes to book, the second drafts of novels, they're always better, and it's always nice to go in and just like delete and then add in and make it better and better and better with each and every draft.
Yes, so exactly.
Pretty much, you kind of answered this question, but do you add aspects of your own personal life into your novels? Like when you're creating characters, obviously with the setting, you definitely did, but how about the character building and how you created them?
So I don't think I did it consciously, but when I look back at it, I do find that a lot of the characters have traits from people I've known. I mean, it might not be, hybrid. They're hybrid characters where, say for example, Ilakaki in my book is a combination of a relative and a neighbor, and she's got it's from both. So you find that subconsciously it does seep in the people you interact with and the people you find working with in your book. Also with Radhi, for instance, she loves to read mysteries, for example, just like me. But But for instance, I am extremely calorie conscious. I'm always counting calories, and I'm like really, it's a thing, right? So I watch my weight and I count calories. And I wanted Radhi to be the exact opposite of that. So Radhi has a fabulous metabolism, which we talk about in the book. And she makes extremely terrible food choices, and eats with absolute pleasure and doesn't put on an ounce. And I wanted Radhi to have that, So,
Right.
so, because I don't have it. So, I have to be careful. So I really wanted her to have fun with,
It's fun to do that, especially because when you're creating characters, there's yours to create. And I know with myself, I add a lot of, for my upcoming novel, I made sure that when it came to the main character, I wanted to put a lot of myself in her, but make her cooler and make her a little bit better, and you could add these elements to characters and add elements of yourself and make them into the perfect character.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's right. Like it's she's got what I don't have. So it's kind of fun.
So give it her, this is great. I love it. I love it. So as you're an author of 2 books now, what would be your number 1 best writing advice to an aspiring author?
It would be to read a lot, and not just the genre you're writing, but across genres, because I think sort of it's like osmosis. You kind of absorb things through your reading journey. And I mean, I have to meet a good writer who doesn't read. So
Yes.
I think to read a lot. And also there is such excellent writing advice out there. So people have shared so generously of their own writing process, that I mean, we're fortunate we can draw from that. And I think what also happens is that different people have different writing processes. So it's kind of, like, for example, Stephen King is extremely prolific. So when I read his book on writing, I was downcast for the longest time, because I'm like, my God, what is this person who's, I sit in front of that blank screen and I panic and I sweat and I do all sorts of things. And this guy, gets up and he's like, how can I not write? And he's like bleeding words there. And so, but then you read other writers who you find really do struggle, they struggle to sit down and to come at it day after day and to kind of do it in a disciplined manner. And it's sort of, it's good to see their writing processes. So my advice would be to kind of read these books, because there is so much wisdom people have shared so generously. So we should kind of make use of that.
Exactly. I think it's really wonderful when authors do collaborate and do share their advice, because it's something that I think is truly what makes this community beautiful, is getting to, know how certain processes work and how some don't. Like, what I learned is that I had a duology, and my first book was written completely different than the second one. The outlining stage, the actually execution of the novel, like everything was different. And I feel like if I would have thought that very strange, if it wasn't for authors telling me and me reading about, like, that's completely normal, because you're learning as you write. And, getting advice from authors like this, like that you just gave, is truly just like, it's very settling and it's very nice to hear, because I think a lot of people need to hear it.
True. I have I still, I mean, all the time I'm looking for advice on it. So
Right.
That's 2 books into it, and I still feel there's so much that that's out there and for us to learn. So true.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for doing this interview. I really appreciate it. And for all of you guys watching on Thursday, I just want to say, go check out A Mumbai Murder Mystery. I'll be linking it down below. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sasha.